Welcome to the conference of thin air, of blue-collar workers, and blue turf. That's right, one of my favorite conferences. We've got the Mountain West. Welcome to the ranking of the Mountain West. The Mountain West is one of my favorite college football conferences just because I feel like the Mountain West is traditionally associated with a lot of upsets. I feel like the number one upset that everybody and their mother can recognize is the Boise State when they beat Oklahoma back in the early 2000s. That was one of my favorite games to watch of all time, and I think that is really what got me interested in watching Mountain West football. So without further ado, here we go. We're going to start with our rankings from Colorado State. We have CAM. I think a CAM is acronym for something. I think it's like Colorado A&M or something, or Agricultural and Mechanical, something like that. I don't know. I'll put it up on the screen here, what CAM stands for. But CAM is he's a ram, he's a goat. I don't know exactly what I would call him, but he's some sort of sheep-like animal. I think, like I've always said, live mascots always get a higher ranking. I'm gonna start CAM off here at the A tier. You know, I love the color scheme, the retro color scheme that they have. The green and the orange is like one of the coolest color schemes that I can imagine in sports in general. Is that green and orange, especially with like the ram helmet or whatever. That's beside the point. We're talking about the mascot here. I mean, he's a white goat. He's got horns. I mean, he's cool. He's cool. I'm down with it. And if you're from Colorado, you're probably interested in the ag scene, especially if you're outside the Denver area. You know, I bet you're pretty interested in that. So I'm gonna say Cam from Colorado State is an A tier for right now. Next up from Utah State, we've got Big Blue. Big Blue is a bull, from my understanding, and I'm gonna have to put Big Blue up at the B tier right now. Just because I feel like he's not as cool as the live mascot. I feel like the bull is pretty unique. I can't think of a ton of different sports teams with the bull, especially with the blue bull. It reminds me of Buffalo, I guess, but I think they're the Buffaloes, or I don't know exactly. Anyway, I think Buffalo's in the MAC, and we're definitely going to do Buffalo next. So make sure to subscribe and have your notifications turned on for that one. Anyway, I'm gonna have Big Blue up at the B tier. I feel like he's interesting. I feel like, you know, if you're a kid, I wouldn't be too afraid to take a picture with him. And I'm feeling good about my ranking so far. I like Big Blue at the B tier from Utah State. Next up from UNLV, we have I think he's a retired mascot technically. I think they retired him in 2020 or 2021, something like that. Just because of there's some interesting connotations that they have with the Rebel here. With, you know, some potential, you know, landowners who might have not have treated their guests so kindly. We don't really need to get into that though. We're just going to talk about the design of Reb here from UNLV, the Rebels. I mean, I feel like he should be. I'm gonna have him as a B tier right now. I feel like whenever I see him, I associate him with like the UNLV basketball teams from, I think it was the late night or the early '90s, something like that. I feel like I don't really have that big of a connection to him. I don't think he's like super cool. You know, I'm gonna keep him down at the C tier actually, just because he's no longer permanently associated with the university. And you know, if I put him side by side with Big Blue here, I feel as if Big Blue has just got like more of a unique look, and he's got more of a cool look. And you know, if I say all the time, if I am a child, which one am I going to want to take a picture with? Am I going to want to take a picture with, you know, Babe the Blue Ox here, or am I going to want to take a picture with some weird dude with a mustache? So I'm going to have a Reb here at a C just because of his current connections to the university and, you know, my gut reaction comparison side by side from Big Blue here. So I feel like that one might be a controversial pick, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe we'll raise it up. Maybe we'll drop it down. Who knows? Our next mascot here is Lobo from New Mexico. I think it's the University of New Mexico or New Mexico University. It's not New Mexico State. Whatever it is the University of New Mexico. I'm feeling pretty good about the Lobo. You know, I think he's a really friendly looking character. I love him with like the old retro jersey on too. I like him. I feel like he would be at the top of the B tier, but just the tongue hanging out is such a silly little addition. Something that I feel like gives him some like approachability to it. So I'm gonna have him as an A tier for right now, with the idea that he might get dropped down to B tier. I don't know. I'm gonna keep him at the A tier right now, with the idea that I might drop him down, just like I said before. So we have the New Mexico Lobo at the A tier. Up next on our docket, we have Cowboy Joe from Wyoming. I think that Cowboy Joe is technically a mini horse, but he is associated with the University of Wyoming. I don't know. I'm gonna have him up at the B tier. Like I always say, I feel like I have to bump up live mascots just because they're interesting, and I think that there's a long history with Cowboy Joe, tied to the university or whatever. I think he's actually technically owned by a student, or like an alumni of the university, which kind of makes it a little bit more interesting. I don't know. He's just a horse. He's kind of cool. I feel like he means a lot to the community. I feel like if you know people who live out in Wyoming, I feel like they're always associated with, riding horses or living on a ranch or something like that. So I'm going to have Cowboy Joe here I'm going to have him at the top of the B tier. I'm going to have him as a B plus, and with this one, we have a couple animals, and like my last one, I'm going to change this to the animal tier. So like before, I'm going to change this to the animal tier because we've got two more animals coming up here, and I just like the idea of having an animal tier. So I'm going to have the A tier here be the animal tier, and then if we have anybody who really stands out above the rest, I'm going to bump them up to the S tier when it comes to the regular mascots. If we're going to compare animals to animals here, I'm going to have to say that the ram is a little bit cooler than a horse. I don't know. Like a ram is just, it feels a little bit more intimidating, and I feel like it's got an interesting name and a tie to the university. So I think I'm going to have Cam above Big Joe here. Cowboy Joe, excuse me, not Big Joe, Cowboy Joe. I'm going to have Cowboy Joe currently at the bottom of the animal tier, but there might be some animals that he's going to get bumped up in front of. So we're going to have Cowboy Joe at the bottom of the animal tier. Next up, from San Jose State, we have Sammy, who is the Spartan. I feel like Sammy is the definition of what it is to be a D tier. I feel like he is every community college. I feel like he is every high school. I feel like his mascot is not unique in his design at all. I feel like a lot of people I feel like the college that I went to when I was fresh out of high school had the exact same mascot, just different colors. So I would have to rank him at a D tier. Sammy is just, not really unique, and don't really have a whole lot to say about him. So Sammy from San Jose State is the D tier right now. Next up, we have a Victor from Fresno State. Victor is a French bulldog. I'm going to have Victor at the bottom currently of our animal A tier. Bulldog is kind of cool, I guess, but, I get you could see him walking around your neighborhood, while I feel like I'm not going to see a mini horse or a ram walking around my neighborhood. So just from a uniqueness standpoint, I'm going to have him at the bottom of the animal tier. I feel like, I don't know, he's a dog. He's cool. I've got no problem with him. I'm gonna have what's his name, Victor, at the bottom of the animal tier from Fresno State. Next up is probably the most familiar mascot, Buster from Boise State. I feel like Buster is got to go up to the S tier, just because I feel like Boise State has been carrying the Mountain West with iconic moments, with iconic plays, with everything, and the mascot is pretty cool. I feel like whenever I see him, I always think of big games. I always associate him with big moments, and I feel like he is a pretty cool mascot. Like I said, I feel like I've always said this, but I feel like I have to deduct points from a horse mascot. But just like the way he pairs with the university, and the moments that he's been associated with, and like him on the blue turf is always such a cool look. I feel like the blue turf is, at this point, I feel like it's might a little bit played out, but I still like it. I think it's kind of cool. So I'm gonna have Buster here up at the S tier, and I'm actually gonna bump up. I'm gonna bump up the Lobo here from New Mexico, University of New Mexico. I'm gonna bump him up to the S tier as well. I feel like they both have some iconic moments that they're associated with in their different respective sports. So I'm going to have the Lobo in second place here. I feel like that's kind of more of an appropriate space for him. So I'm going to have the Lobo behind Buster from Boise State up at the S tier. Next up from the Air Force Academy, we have, I didn't find one specific name for the bird, so it's like this like white peregrine falcon thing. I'll put it up, I'll put the name up above me here on the screen, but you know, it's a white peregrine falcon. I feel like that's got to be way up at the top. Plus, it's associated with the Air Force Academy. You know, you got to support the troops or whatever. So I'm gonna have the falcon up at the A tier. Besides, it's a beautiful looking bird. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of bird. You're not gonna catch me going bird watching on the weekend, but that is a bird that if I saw it, I would probably stop and I would stare at it for a little bit. So I'm gonna have the falcon from the Air Force Academy up at the top of the animal A tier. And finally, from the University of Nevada, we have Alfie. Alfie is a wolf. Yeah, they're the wolf pack. Alfie is a wolf. I'm going to put Alfie in the bottom of the B tier. I feel like, you know, he's kind of a cool looking animal. He's fuzzy looking. He's got more of a unique design. I mean, for a wolf, you could have definitely gone with something a bit more generic, but they didn't. They went for something kind of cool, and I have to applaud them for that. You know, it's kind of a unique look. It looks a little bit like a panther or something, but I'm down with it. I would love to take a picture with it if I was a kid, so I am all for Alfie from the University of Nevada. We are missing two teams from our list here. We're missing the University of Hawaii and San Diego State University, but neither of them have official mascots. They used to have mascots, or I think they have people that are associated with them. The University of Hawaii does. I think they have like an actual, like a native Hawaiian guy wearing the grass skirt and everything, but they do not list him as an official mascot, so I'm going to keep him off the list for right now. But that is our rankings for the Mountain West. Up at the S tier, we have Buster from Boise State and the Lobo from the University of New Mexico. At our adjusted A tier, we changed it to the animal tier. We've got the Falcon from the Air Force Academy. We've got Cam the Ram from Colorado State. We've got Cowboy Joe from Wyoming. And last but not least, we've got Victor from Fresno State. Down at the B tier, we have Big Blue the Bull from Utah State. And we've got Alfie from Nevada. From UNLV, we've got Reb at the C tier. And last but kind of least, we've got Sammy from San Jose State. Sorry, buddy. All that being said, let me know down in the comments what you think of my rankings. I feel like having the S tier with our, with some iconic mascots, with some iconic moments. I feel like I got that correct. I love the animal tier. And, maybe if I associate with some iconic moments, I feel like you might think I have to move Reb up, but I'm going to disagree with that. Let me know down in the comments what you think. And like I said in my last video ranking the AAC, I'll link that video at the very end. Our next mascot rankings is going to be the MAC, the Mid-America Conference. So next up comes MAC. I hope you guys are subscribed. Make sure to like the video, and we'll see you next time. Peace.